Here we go, right into it. Part 3 of the Moria Army review, and we're going to start off with the Dragon. So there are 3 profiles left, and this is the first one we're going to cover today. The Dragon is a monster infantry hero, hero of valor. He is Fight 7, 2 up shoot value, which is important to know in a moment. Strength 7, Defense 7, 4 attacks, 7 wounds, Courage 4. 3 might, 3 will, 3 fate. So that's a really good stat line. He is unfortunately not seen as much as he used to be because nowadays the meta has kind of turned, at least here, into Fight 3 armies that are kind of hoarded out. So a big point sink in a dragon is unfortunately something that most folks are, if they're going to go this way, they're just going to pay a little bit more and go with the Balrog. And honestly, the dragon ends up usually being the same price as the Balrog for what we'll cover here in a second. So he has claws and teeth for war gear. So when we're talking about before the Shatter Shaman can't shatter living parts, the Shatter Shaman would be no good against a dragon that has claws and teeth. His heroic actions are heroic channeling, heroic strike, heroic strength, and defense. He has the ability to take 2 upgrades out of 4 that he's given. Breathe Fire, Fly, Tough Hide, and Worm Tongue. So we're going to cover the first 2, the first 2 that we'll cover are the simplest ones. Fly just gives him the Fly special ability, which is good because he's only got a 6-inch movement, and he's on one of those long, oblong, I think they're like 80mm bases. I can't remember exactly what size it is, maybe 90, something like that. But he's on that long, oblong base where moving 6 inches with it is almost the entire length of the base. So having Fly just allows him to get around the board a lot quicker. Tough Hide is a smart one that I always take because of one of his special rules, which we'll cover in a moment. And that increases his wounds and defense to 9 over 7. So now he's got 9 wounds and he's got defense 9. So really good there, making him a lot harder to kill against just your regular troops. And even heroes are going to have a hard time because of the fact that he's Fight 7 and he has Strike and 3 points of Might to do it with. So he's got all the good stats when it comes to Might, Will, Fate. He's got 3s across the board. Now his next ability that we're going to talk about is Breathe Fire. And each time a dragon breathes fire, it expends a point of will. Treat the dragon's fiery breath as a bow with a range of 12 inches. So the way that we have always understood this is a bow shot. So it's done in the shooting range, shooting phase. If the shot hits, the target and all models, friendly and foe, within 2 inches suffer a strength 10 hit. Any model that suffers an unsaved wound, fate may still be taken, from a dragon's breathe fire is automatically slain. So he's a 2 up shoot value. So you have a very hard chance of not getting this off. And that means even if you move half with him, you can go ahead and still shoot this breathe fire on a 3 up. Now this is a little bit of a give and take because of the fact that it requires him to spend a will point. And we'll get to that in a second as to, again, why this is important to watch how you use his will. So the final upgrade he can have is Worm Tongue, and that is the dragon. A dragon with this ability can spend a single will point each turn without reducing its own store of will, so long as the will point is used to cast one of the following magical powers. The controlling player may still spend extra will points to increase the number of dice in the usual way. So Worm Tongue gives him the ability to get a free point of will to cast Transfix or Compel. Both have 12 inches range. Transfix on a 3 up, Compel on a 4 up. Not a bad ability there, and that's why he has heroic channeling. So you could transfix somebody and channel it and make them, was a half fight, half attacks and all that. I can't remember what the channel version of Compel is. I think something about making it harder to resist. I'd have to look into it to be honest. Okay, so I just looked it up, and basically the channeled version of Compel is the channeled version of Transfix, which means you have to fight values and half the attacks, and he can't make strikes if they win the dual roll in combat. So not a bad special ability to be able to spend a point of will to try and cast one of those things. You got a 50 and a 66% chance of getting, one of these little spells off with Worm Tongue. So I have played with the dragon before. Personally, I've never used Worm Tongue. I usually give him Tough Hide and Fly because I like the ability to have the defense 9, and I like the ability to move him around all over the board as fast as I possibly can. So the reason why I like the Tough Hide is because of his special rules. So let's go over them and we can talk a little bit. So Harbinger Evil, Monstrous Charge, Resistance to Magic, Survival Instinct, and Terror. So Harbinger Evil, he's going to be given the -1 penalty to your opponent's courage. Monstrous Charge, if he charges, he's going to get the same ability as Cavalry. He's going to get +1 to his attacks, and he's going to get knockdown bonuses. And this includes Cavalry, so that's really good right there. Resistant to Magic, that's really good as well. You can only, if you take Wormtongue, you're basically going to have free points of will, 1 to cast and 1 to resist. I really like that ability so that he's not spending his own natural will points to resist magic. A lot of the heroes in Moria, they're hard to cast magic on. The big heroes, I should say. The Balrog also has resistant magic, not to mention his huge amount of will. And stuff is just hard to cast on. And then Terror, so we already know what that is. He's going to be hard to charge. And then Survival Instinct is the one that I mentioned second before last, and I skipped over there. So Survival Instinct is anytime the dragon takes a wound, he takes a courage check. Should he fail the courage check, he flees the board as a casualty. Yes, you heard that right. He flees the board as a casualty. So now you kind of understand why, like that whole thing with Breathe Fire sounds amazing. Wormtongue is usually one that's not taken. It's most common to not see it. But Breathe Fire and Tough Hide are kind of like, which one do you take? Personally, I always think you should take Tough Hide. When it comes down to it, Tough Hide is the number one thing I take. I want defense 9. I want the same defense as the Balrog. I want it to be very hard for you to wound me, because if you do, I'm only courage 4. And that's where those 3 points of will that you have, that's where it comes into handy to be able to might something up. Now, and I can say this, having played the dragon a couple times, yeah, you just need a 6. You got a 50% chance to pass a courage check. In the games that I've played with him, I failed about 20% of my courage checks, 20-25%. Crazy as that sound. It is hard to wound him, like I said, but the few times it's happened, he is a large base, so it's easy to get around him and trap him with just like a few models. And those times that happened, I was vastly outnumbered. And I took a couple wounds, faded out of it. But, when I failed my fate, or eventually I used up my fate. So here you go. For example, I did an all-monster mashup of Moria monsters against Durin's Folk. Durin's Folk completely surrounded my dragon, and I think they had like 30 dice or some crazy odd number of dice, and that included Khazad Guard or Hearthguard or whatever that had the +1 to wound for free with strength 4. So they were wounding me on like 5s by 3s. It happened. Okay, it happened. I was able to negate. I lost priority, lost the heroic roll off, movement roll off. Didn't get the dice I needed, because 4 dice to attack is great, but if you don't have a banner, it's kind of like it could be iffy. And I was rolling bad with him. Let's just say he held his own. Don't get me wrong, but I couldn't get him out of there to do anything, and that was one of the times I took Breathe Fire over Fly, and that's where I realized, hey, Fly is a really good ability to have, because if you do get him surrounded and trapped, you can just fly out of there. You move 12 inches, you ignore control zones, get him out of there. So I did end up I didn't flee, but he did end up dying. No, he actually did end up fleeing. Yeah, that's what happened. He ended up fleeing in one of those games, and I've seen it happen before to other players. So that's why I think that Tough Hide, that defense 9, just make it a lot harder for him to take those wounds. Then when you run out of fate, failed to negate a wound. A single wound can go through. Yeah, 3 fate points. I've seen it happen. You take a single wound, 3 fate points, you fail every single one of them, and boom, fail a courage check, you're gone. Like, crazy stuff happens in this game. So, all right, that's the dragon. Talked about him a long time here, a lot longer than expected. Hopefully you guys got some really good insight on him. Hope you guys, maybe take him out and try him in a small event or something, or just, play him around. So moving on, we have the Cave Drake. It's a monster infantry hero, Drake for the keyword, just like the dragon had dragon for keyword, whatever. Minor hero, so it could only leave 5. 6 up fight value, 6, 5 up shoot value, strength 7, defense 7, 4 attacks, 6 wounds, courage 4, 1 might, 3 will, 1 fate. That 1 might, 3 will, 1 fate kind of hurts for him. Cave Drakes used to be very popular, but unfortunately they've kind of become less popular than they used to be. Claws and Teeth only has heroic strength with his 1 point of might. Has monstrous charge, mountain dweller, resistance to magic, terror, and woodland creature. So mountain dweller, he's not moving. He's moving through rocky terrain without penalties. Woodland creature, moving through forest terrain without penalty. That's pretty cool. Resistant to magic, again, I mentioned that before. That's a good one to have. Free point of will. Terror, he's courage check to charge him, and monstrous charge, very nice to have as well, so that you can go ahead and get that extra attack on the charge, which gives him 5. Okay, so he has 2 special rules. One's actually a brutal power attack, so we'll talk about the first one. That's protect the nest, and that's at the start of the game before any models have been deployed. The Cave Drake's controlling player may place a single 25mm nest marker per Cave Drake. The eggs that come with the Cave Drake set are ideal for this. So the Cave Drake actually comes with a little set of eggs that you can put on the base or use as the marker. And I've actually seen people where they've taken a 25mm base and like built up the Cave Drake's base so that it fits down inside there, so they can take it and place it. And when they're not using it, it sits inside there, looking really nice and scenery like or whatever. It looks really good on a display board. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Anywhere on the board, whilst within 3 inches of a nest marker, a Cave Drake gains the Fearless special rule. So a little bit of a specialty there, but you can place it based on the scenario. If you're playing, Seize the Prize, obviously you're going for the middle, and you're going to want the Cave Drake up there wrecking some havoc, so you can probably put that within the middle. If you're playing Contest of Champions, again, you're going for the middle. Hold Ground, again, in the middle. Seize the Prize or Capturing Control or anything. I've already talked about Seize the Prize. I'm sorry. Capturing Control, Domination, those types. Destroy the supplies. You can easily throw him near a supply marker that you really want to gun for and have him hold it or charge. Now, it's a little bit of a specialty. It's really only going to be good around terror armies, but being fearless is good because, you can auto-pass all your courage checks. So the other special rule, and this is his brutal power attack, is Gaping Maw. Instead of striking normally, the Cave Drake may select a single man-sized or smaller, so we're talking dwarf hobbits, stuff like that, models involved in the same fight to attempt to swallow whole. Roll a d6. On a 3-up, the model is swallowed whole and removed as a casualty. Fate rolls may be made against this brutal power attack as if it has caused a wound, but if a model fails to save this with a fate, it will be slain. So basically, he can just 3-up, completely swallow a model. Really good against, maybe a hero that's already burnt all of his fate. Say an Aragorn, a Boromir, a Théoden, an Éomer, a Gothmog, what's that guy's name? A Bolg or an Azog. They've burnt all over their only fate in regard to the evil ones. And then you just walk in and just swallow them whole. That can be really great. I mean, 4 or 5 attacks against those guys are likely to, you could rend and you're likely to kill things, but you never know. Dice can roll bad, and it's worth it to, go for it. And since it's a 3-up, you can go ahead and use your single point of might. So in reality, if you get a 2, you're going to eat that model. So Cave Drakes, don't really see them a lot just because of the fact they're a minor hero and only 1 point of might, and there's no ability for them to move quickly. So that is a model I've played with a little bit. I do like it. I do like its fearless ability thing, and I like that it has Mountain Dweller and Woodland Creature. Unfortunately, it's not really one that you see at all in a Moria Army. Kind of a specialty piece. Again, more of a display or a showcase piece than it is actually used in battle. I do believe there is a Battle Company's scenario where you have to defeat a Cave Drake, so could be good for that. Somehow they're selling these models still. It hasn't gone out of print yet, which is fortunate because I do like the model. It is a very cool model. All right, the last one we're going to talk about today, and the last hero is the Watcher in the Water. So it's a Kraken monster infantry hero, independent hero, 4-inch movement, fight 6, 3-up shoot value, strength 6, defense 6, 6 attacks, 6 wounds, courage 3, 1 might, 5 will, 1 fate. His war gear are his tentacles. He has heroic strength, harboring of evil, resistant to magic and terror. So again, that -1 penalty to your opponent's courage value while making it harder for them to charge you because you cause terror, and resistance to magic. So he doesn't have to spend his natural will points to resist spells. So like these last 3 all have that. So that's why like a big monster mashup with these guys is really cool. All right, he's got a number of special rules, so let's go ahead and jump into it. I'm going to talk about the quicker ones first, just because they're simple to get them out of the way. Many tentacles. When the Watcher is reduced to 3 or less wounds remaining, its attacks are also reduced to 3. So defense 6 is good, but if you're going against the army that has, lance bonuses, charge bonuses, you can't knock it prone because it is a monster, but you get a cavalry model charging in. Let's say it's just a White or a Rohan. He charges in. Now he's strength 4. He's got 2 attacks. If you can get a few of them charging in, let's say 3, you can trap this model because, again, it's on one of those awkward bases. And let's say you just, however, roll your 6 dice, get a 6, and the Watcher's 6 dice don't. You do 3 wounds because it's very possible, because now he is trapped, so now you get double wounds. So now you're throwing 12 dice needing 5s. It's one of those things where you got to be careful with how you position a Watcher. Defense 6 is good, but it's also got its weaknesses to strength 4. Any army that has a +1 modifier to their to wound rolls. All right, Water Dweller. The Watcher is not slowed when entering a water feature. In fact, whilst within one, its move value is doubled, and it always counts as having rolled a 6 on the swim chart. Additionally, if the Watcher charges whilst within a water feature, it gains a monstrous charge special rule. Never seen it happen, but that's pretty badass. Let's be honest. You're going to be moving 8 inches. You're going to get to you auto get a 6, so nothing. But you don't care about swim checks, and then an extra attack would knock down 7 attacks already. four attacks if you're at half wounds. Pretty badass. All right. So let's go ahead and talk about the next one, which goes with that water, and it's actually a brutal power attack. It's called Drag to the Depths. Instead of striking normally, if the Watcher in the water is within a water feature, it can select a single man-sized or smaller model involved in the same fight, and then roll a d6. On a 3+, this model suffers a wound. Fate rolls can be made as usual. If the wound is not saved, the model is dragged to the depths and immediately slain. The Watcher is then removed from the board, and its controlling player will start to roll for the Watcher to revive, as described in the From the Deep special rule on this page. All right, so we can go ahead and roll into From the Deep from there because it can help you. Again, similar to what the Cave Drake does with the Gaping Maw, he can one-shot any model. Pretty darn powerful. And if you go ahead and you do that and you take him off the board, he does come off the board, you get to bring him back onto the board anywhere you want because of his From the Deep special rule, which is the Watcher in the water can never be part of another hero model's warband. When you deploy your army, do not deploy the Watcher in the water on the board. Instead, keep it to one side for later. During each priority phase, after priority has been rolled, announce if you would like the Watcher to arrive, and if yes, roll a d6. On a 3+, the Watcher is ready to enter play. Once you have declared the Watcher is ready to enter, you may roll during each priority phase thereafter until it is available. When the Watcher is ready to enter play, immediately place it anywhere on the battlefield. It can displace models. Move any displaced models the minimum distance possible so that they are 1 inch away from the Watcher, because you have to be outside of the control zone, or as close as the situation will allow. If they're up against the wall, they're up against the wall. They can only go so far, In this situation, players take it in turns to displace models, starting with the Watcher's controlling player. This may create some odd situations, but represents the Watcher bursting forth, scattering warriors, both friend and foe alike. The Watcher cannot charge on the turn it arrives. So that's pretty cool because of the fact that the whole, it bursts forth, causing confusion. Since you're alternating, you can move your opponent's models, which could potentially hurt them. But it is displacing by the shortest distance possible. I guess you could use that as a way to maybe get one of your models away from another model, or get one of your models closer, or vice versa, bring your opponent's models to you. But that is the possibility there. So he doesn't deploy on the board, and then once it's decided that he wants to come on, 3 up, and he comes on the board anywhere you want him to come on. Him coming on wherever he wants is a great ability to back row your opponent, or maybe take an objective. Really good for capturing control, or breakthrough, or even seize the prize. Heirloom's Age is past, anything like that where you've got to get around the board or get onto an objective. Having him randomly come up and randomly come onto the objective could be really good for you. Maybe if your opponent is a archery heavy army, then he can pop up behind and force those archers into combat, which could also do some damage as well and negate that. So the last special rule is tentacles, and that is in the shoot phase, the watcher may make d6 shooting attacks. They have a range of 6 inches and a strength of 3, and never require in the way rolls. That's pretty cool. I guess it's because, like, you think about it, it's those squirming tentacles just getting wherever they need to go. Any model hit by a tentacle but not slain is immediately dragged into base contact with the watcher by the shortest route possible, even over the heads of other models. Models moved in this way do not count as having charged. If there is no way to fit the model in base contact, it is not moved at all. The watcher can still make these shooting attacks even if it is engaged in combat. So, even if you charge the watcher, the watcher can still make shots to go ahead and ruin your day by, A, pulling other guys in, or B, just killing other guys that maybe are supports. I have seen it done where, since there is no in the way, they've shot and killed guys that they're in base contact with. I've seen it done where they've go ahead and pick off spear supports, stuff like that. It's pretty good tactic, or not tactic, pretty good special ability, and especially if you can roll pretty well and get like 4, 5, or 6 attacks every time. 3-up shoot value. So if he does move, though, he's going to be taking that -1 penalty. And they are shooting attacks. So if he moves more than half movement, then you're not going to be able to do it. So those are the final 3 profiles in the Moria hero list. I talked about these a lot longer than I meant to. I do apologize. I will say that I definitely like and enjoy seeing these models played. I've seen the watcher played a lot because my good friend Richie, he likes playing it, and he definitely is probably the master, or as close as it comes to being the master of the watcher. I will say I think I've gone against him twice with it. I know once for certain. It's actually a battle report. I'll leave a card in the or a link in the description, a card up in the corner for you guys to go check that out, that video. It was against the shooting army, too, like I mentioned. So there you go. He did exactly what I was talking about, bringing the watcher in behind to negate my shooting attacks. That's actually a funny game because I think he failed like the first 2 or 3 times to get the watcher in. So that 3-up, it's like, yeah, I can get him in almost any time. No, 66%. No, you can't use might to modify it. So it's literally just the luck of the roll. But yeah, those are the heroes. I hope you guys have enjoyed hearing about the heroes of the Moria Army list. And I hope you look forward to hearing about the warriors coming up in the next video. Until then, take care. Please like, share, subscribe, and enjoy your MESBG hobby. Remember, it's all for fun.